Hey everyone, welcome to Film School Dropouts. I'm here with my favorite posh British con man, Brent. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, good evening.
That's rough. That's a rough one.
Oh no, this is my real voice.
Oh,
Hello.
thank God. All right. All right. Well, this is a podcast where Brent and I, who are both, like the title implies, film school dropouts in a way, we're going to just dive into all of our favorite directors, and that's going to be the course. That's going to be the syllabus.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So to kick things off, our first season, we're going to go ahead and dive into your favorite modern director.
Yes, he is my favorite modern director.
This is your guy, Chris Nolan.
This is my guy. Love him.
Christopher. Yeah, this is your guy. So, what I mean, we're starting with his first movie, Following. But before we get to that, why don't you go ahead and just talk about Christopher Nolan for a second? Because I think that you've got a little bit of a stock that you've bought with him.
Oh my God, I can't. I'm so glad you asked me. No, no, I just think he's a genius. He makes it's almost like a new kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
They are, I will say, I'll agree with critics to some extent, a little confusing.
I will get to
But
yeah.
it's not enough to make me.
No.
They're very. I just think they're very smart. They're sleek. They're sexy. They wear suits in all of them.
Yes, absolutely. I anyone who has a complaint that Christopher Nolan's movies are confusing, I'm not really going to buy into that, except for his most recent movie, which will be our last episode of this series. But
we'll get there.
Yeah, I think all of his movies are pretty. I mean, I think he's only got one movie that I really don't like. Uh, I think he's an incredible director of spectacle, and just an incredible director of set pieces, and kind of his whole thing is kind of just building up this, I want to say, kind of like line of dominoes and just knocking them down, and it's always incredible. For me at least, I don't think I'm in the bag for him as much as you are, but I do, like, I can't deny, like, you go to the movie theater, you sit down and you watch one of his movies,
it's just got blockbuster written all over it.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's really
they're intriguing, it's just, they make you think. I think it's a good example of what movies should be. And as far as the new filmmakers, I don't know if there's a better one than him.
I don't think there's a better blockbuster kind of premiere filmmaker than him right now. There are other filmmakers that I like more than Christopher Nolan working right now, but I don't think any of them can do what he does, just
on the scale that he does it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Which brings us to Following.
Yes, a very big scale movie. No, I did a little research into him before we did this episode. He never went to film school or anything like that. I think he took English as a major in college, but he just always loved making movies on his Super 8 when he was a kid, and making short films with his friends, and then he just sort of got into the industry because, honestly, the dude's just kind of got the eye.
Oh yeah,
can't really deny it when it's like that.
And what was the budget for this one? Even it's
$6,000
exactly, and
insanity.
You could have fooled me. To me it still had like a flashy, it almost had like a rich, like, I don't know. It seemed luxurious, even though it was on $6,000.
Okay, so yes, absolutely. Let's back up a little bit.
I don't know if luxurious is the right word, but that sleek and sexy is there.
Let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
I've seen this movie a couple days. I think this is like my third time watching this movie. Just this last week, I rewatched it for the podcast, and the first time I watched it, I was like, yeah, it was cool. And the second time I watched it, I was like, yeah, it was cool as hell. And this time I was like, yeah, this movie's fucking cool as hell. This is the only movie of his that you hadn't seen before, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
It's my supposed favorite director, and I hadn't even seen one of his movies.
Well, I mean, it's not like this movie's out there.
It took me a little bit to find as well.
Yeah, exactly. I have the Criterion Blu-ray, which has some cool features on it. I'll talk about in a little bit, but this is his smallest movie by just massive amounts of margins, because this guy just goes up and up. Yeah,
you can tell.
Yeah. So, I think one of the things that before we get into this movie, why don't we back way up? Because
Okay.
I do love the idea. I think we need to start this podcast every week with just a little pulse check.
Yeah.
So what you got anything exciting that you've seen this last week? You can just talk about some exciting new things. I mean, I guess this might be one of them for you, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I know you're not really gonna like this route, but I have to go with it. WandaVision, baby.
Okay, all right. It's you know what?
WandaVision. It's
It's
here.
your
It's here.
podium.
Probably gonna draw some flack. Oh, it's a movie show. He instantly goes TV,
That's
but
fine. No, I don't care. Go
I'm a
ahead.
Paul Bettany fan.
I love Paul.
I
I
just
love
like what
Paul.
he does, and and I'm a fan of Elizabeth Olsen. So Elizabeth
She's
Olsen.
she's good. She's good.
She's very talented. Everything I've seen her in, he's very talented.
He's
I'm a fan.
outstanding.
I'm a MCU slappy. So
That's fine. Yeah, I
there I
think
am.
as this podcast progresses, I think we'll people who listen will kind of come to learn that you're the MCU fan, and I've kind of massively grown apart from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I won't. I don't think I'm gonna be. I don't think I'm gonna be tuning into WandaVision anytime soon. But it's getting some good reviews. Sounds like they're actually doing something weird for once, which is finally it's exciting. But yeah, I can't blame you though. Bettany and Olsen, they're great. And I was just gushing to you last week about how much I fucking love Bettany and Master and Commander. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
It's a hit for me.
cool.
I'm in.
That's the first new Marvel TV show, right?
It's supposedly the very first thing into phase 4 of the MCU. So moving past, yeah. I mean, I think
Okay.
Black Widow's still technically in the former
like a prequel, though,
prequel.
right?
Yeah, it's getting
so exhausting.
convoluted. Yeah, have you seen anything you like?
Hell yeah, man! I rewatched When Harry Met Sally the other day.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
just an all-timer for me. Every time I watch that movie, I'm like, right at the end, I'm like, I'm not gonna cry, and I just bolster myself up. I start building this huge barrier. I'm like, I can do this. And the second he gives that last line about when you want to spend the rest of your life with someone, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. I'm just like, the damn brakes in my face.
That was at New Year's Eve.
Yes. It's so good.
Classic.
Yeah, that's a good rewatch for me. I will say the one thing I watched recently, last night actually, I watched Tom Hanks's new movie News of the World.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I heard that was good.
It was good. Yeah. I mean, I can't tell how much of me liked it because it was good or how much of me liked it because all I've been watching this last year have been like small indie dramas because no movies came out in the last year. And this movie was this huge, sweeping, romantic Western about truth and journalism and hope.
Paul Greengrass, right?
Paul Greengrass, yeah. He kept the camera
Captain
steady
Phillips.
for this one. You could actually see what was going on. It was nice.
He was on a boat, and Captain Phillips. Let's blame it on the boat and the water.
Captain Phillips is a great fucking movie.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I told you.
I almost thought about saying we should hit up Greengrass because I don't think we have him on the list.
We could definitely do Greengrass. Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
Why not? Why not?
I like Greengrass a lot.
I thought about him later, but anyway.
Yeah, there's no real guiding compass as to what directors we're gonna do. I think it's just gonna be the ones that we love and the ones that we want to do a little bit more of a deep examination of, right?
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great example. You finally got around to following. So
I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Well, am I glad I did? Let's get into that.
Well, are you though? Are you glad?
Well, this being our first episode, I do want to just go over kind of how I'm going to be reviewing and just the box,
absolutely.
Just the kind of the boxes that I'm going to either be, they're either going to get a check or not a check. And that's just how and it's just for me. You can do your own thing, but this is
me, I'm going to freewheel it, but
I know. You're about the heart, and that's why I love you. You're about the heart.
I just ripped this little chest open and I let it all pour out.
Oh, it's pouring everywhere.
It's disgusting. I got blood all over my laptop.
Oh, your keys are sticking.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and this is a great time
to So every movie that we watch, I'm going to be looking at obviously the acting. That's probably the most important to me. If it's bad acting, it's probably going to get a bad grade.
It's going to be tough. I know.
It's going to be tough. Uphill battle. Script, dialogue, those are about the same. I'm going to go through them real quick just so.
Yeah, knock them out. And then.
All right. Yep. So we got pace, editing, special effects, production design / sets, cinematography, score, plot, theme / tone, and then direction.
Okay.
Now there could every once in a while pop up some bonus categories. It's not going to deter. It's not going to affect the grade in any way. If anything, it will help the grade out. But like for instance, last night I watched Following, and I came across a good twist.
Okay.
So that for me, that's a little bonus. That helps the movie. That helps the score.
A good twist.
A good twist, because if it's a bad twist, that's it's not gonna it's gonna hurt.
Yep.
But it's not really expected. You don't have to have the twist. But if you're going to put the
sure, if you're going to put the twist, added kind of charm to the movie you want to talk about,
right?
Get to that too.
A movie doesn't have to have the twist. If it has one, it better be good, though. I'll leave it at that. Okay.
I dig it. Well, why don't you go? I mean, like I said, I've seen this movie a couple times, and every time I watch it, I always kind of sit down and I'm like, yeah, sure, it's his first movie, whatever. And then I watch it, I'm like, shit, it thing's charming and cool. I like it. It's good. So, and I have the same reaction this time. This is probably my favorite time watching it, just because now I know it inside and out. But yeah, I mean, first time viewing, what'd you think? What'd you take away from it, man?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I have a few notes here, a few thoughts. At first, I was moving a little slower. I went into the movie. Let me clarify this. I went into it with low expectations, being it his very first movie. It's not that I don't doubt his talent. I just expect there to be unpolished, and this was unpolished for me. Very unpolished. The editing, the transition from scene to scene. It looked a little like it was his first movie.
Yeah, like we said earlier, which I'll bring up again, this movie cost only $6,000.
Exactly, and like I said, it showed definitely in some parts. But that's about it. That's about it for the complaints. I thought it was a really great movie.
It's really cool. Very cool.
It definitely blended. Watching it, I see shades of Tenet. I see shades of Inception. I see shades of his other, except for Interstellar. That one kind of.
Well, sure, yeah. There's no Well, there is some Batman influence here. There's a little Batman sticker on the door. I was gonna say there's no Batman, but there literally is a Batman.
Well. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think the guy's door has a Batman sticker on it when they go to break in.
Oh, I like that.
But I think this movie's really inventive for the budget. And I think that one of the things that I was researching when I was looking him up, Nolan, when he was making this movie, wrote it specifically with that budget in mind. He knew he wasn't going to have any money for this thing. So what he did was he wrote a movie that he could shoot almost in this sort of guerrilla style where they just kind of run and gun on the streets to get shots, and then they used like their parents' house to do all the interiors, or they would go up on a rooftop where there were no one up there to get their dialogues. So it's incredibly smart filmmaking.
That's
on that
cool.
low budget. Yeah, definitely. And for a guy who didn't go to film school, which there are a lot of people who didn't go to film school who are incredible. Like Steven Spielberg didn't go to film school until after he was Steven fucking Spielberg, So that's not, I guess, out of this world. But this movie's really well made. Like it has a lot of intelligence when it comes to just craft alone.
It was shockingly, like I could tell I was watching a Nolan movie.
Yeah,
even with for $6,000. I thought his well, I mean, we'll get into all, but even down to his, he's an audio, what's the word I'm looking for? Maestro, Nolan's audio always stands apart. And you could even hear, even on the small budget, he still had that same like tense build up, I don't know. It sounded exactly like his other movies. It had the same feel like his other movies.
Yes.
I want to still hold this one. If anything, there's elements in this movie that worked better than, and it's almost like this was his first one. This was his baby, and he broke off chunks to do his other movies.
It does feel like a bit of a dry run for Memento.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, Memento too. Also, yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'll be honest, we'll get to it next episode, but I like this movie more than Memento. But this does feel almost like, he's got this he had this idea in his head of this fractured narrative where he's telling it, and the plot is moving forward, but he keeps cutting to 3 separate times in the plot. Right. And then at the end, you're kind of like, oh, now it's all, coming together.
I think the line I wrote here was, it was a jigsaw puzzle.
And he loved that.
and he was just giving you one piece at a time.
Yep.
And halfway through, you're like, it, that's why people get confused and they get thrown off a little bit, because halfway through with that incomplete picture, it's not looking too good. But once you get that last piece, you're like, wow.
I mean, he did it in Memento. He did it in Dunkirk. You know, he kind of in Tenet in a different way, but this is sort of his go-to thing, is this, you know, fractured timeline that he'll show you what he wants and put it all together at one point in the end. And I think this is such a cool little experimental movie.
And even like ambiguous ending, that's in there.
The ending's great.
Ending's great.
I want to quickly burn through this plot just so like we don't have to keep dancing around it.
Right.
But essentially, this movie is about a very sad, bad, pathetic loser who wants to be a writer.
And he just starts following people.
It's
the beginning of the movie. He just starts following. He's walking around. He just starts following people. You're like, where is this going?
Good at the beginning, where he's telling the police officer what he does, which is he'll just get bored, go on the street, and pick one person out of the crowd and just follow them, not for any specific reason. He just follows them for a little bit, and as he says, it's not like a sex thing or anything like that. He just wants to see what they're doing, and he ends up following a guy who is a burglar who. Cobb is the character's name. The main character doesn't have a name. Another similarity he has with Tenet. But Cobb is the...
And Dunkirk.
I think the characters do have names in Dunkirk, but it's all just like British boy.
Well, IMDb, they said young man.
Young war boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he follows this guy named Cobb who ends up being a burglar who kind of pulls the main character into his life of crime.
Really quickly.
The guy obviously has no life. He's like, yeah, sure, this is what you're doing. I might, whatever. Sounds good.
Teaching him the ropes of breaking and entering.
Yes.
A little bit like Inception.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing...
Guy in a suit.
The thing that's really interesting is the guy Cobb, he's almost this pretentiously poetic burglar. He'll pull him into the room, and it's not about stealing. It's about showing them what they have and taking it away. And it's like, all right, man. Like, he goes in to invade these people's lives for basically his own kind of he's getting off on it.
Even, I mean, he's okay with taking away people's love. Like, he's talking about breaking up couple. Like, it's nonchalant to him. Like,
yes, yeah.
So it's not a very twisted character right off the bat. You meet this Cobb.
And I off the bat right now, I fucking love this guy's performance. I think he's so goddamn charming in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I thought we'll never know. We'll never see these actors again, but I thought all of them did. They did what they're supposed to. Yeah, they did what they're supposed to do. So
yeah. So Cobb ends up showing him the ropes and giving him tips. He should cut his hair. He should get nicer clothes. Yada yada yada. And eventually we're introduced to a blonde woman who's dating a small-time criminal boss. And the movie kind of meanders a little bit through this part of, just sort of setting up all these new characters and their relationships to each other.
But they do it in really sexy dark clubs.
Yeah.
Even though it's black and white, you could tell that was a sexy club that they were meeting.
It's super sexy. The whole aside from Jeremy Theobald, the guy who plays the main character, who's sort of like a scruffy rat person, like it's kind of a hot little, sexy little movie.
Like the blonde, doesn't she warn him about the criminal boss or
the bald guy?
Yeah, kind of like Tenet. She's warning the guy about her husband or about the mom.
Man, it's weird how much this movie has in common with Tenet.
No, it's throughout the whole movie. Like, I saw shades of one of his other things in almost every scene. And now I'm glad we're doing this, Nolan, because I want to know which ones did it best and what parts.
Revisiting
shine.
All of these movies, and for sure. So he ends up getting in a little and over his head with this cop guy, and really the big twist of the movie, which you can put together near the last act, because all of these things that we're talking about are displayed non-linear. He'll cut forward and backwards in time. There's basically three timelines. There's the young man with the long hair, the young man with the short hair, and the young man with his face beat up. Those are the three kind of things you can track.
Right.
And then near the end, you find out that Cobb is actually under investigation for finding a dead woman, and he has groomed the main character to act and look just like him so that he can take the fall and Cobb can vanish into the crowd.
It's pretty genius.
It's pretty genius, and like it's not really far-fetched at all. It's not one of those things where you're like, okay, like he does all of the work throughout the movie.
And you see it. You
Yes.
see it.
Yeah, there's no point where you're like, oh, well, how are they going to explain that? Like, it's all in there.
I don't want to do this, but I got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's scenes with Cobb and the blonde girl,
Okay.
blonde lady, but you know, there's parts of me that thought, what if it was a little Fight Club-ish and Cobb was just in his mind?
Oh, interesting. That's what you were going for?
You know, Nolan likes to mess with my mind, and he did it.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, even the cop at the end, he says there is no Cobb. You know, Cobb sort of
the only person Cobb supposedly talked to was the blonde lady,
who he kills.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a really interesting theory. You know, you could probably.
Well, that's what you're gonna get from me, baby.
Oh hell yeah! He's coming in with all the hot takes. Jesus. Yeah. I mean, the movie's last shot really stuck with me. Of you see Cobb kind of standing there in this slow motion shot, and a couple of people walk in front of the camera, and then Cobb's gone. And it's like
almost as if he wasn't even there at all.
yeah, that's exactly it. You nailed it. But yeah, and then you're left with like, fuck, dude, this main character just fucked himself so hard. He's gonna take the rap for all of this shit, and he didn't do any of it. Oh man, it's good. It's good, like really clean, even when it is cut up like this. Really clean. Direct.
Welcome to Hollywood, Christopher Nolan. I mean, for
pretty much right away. Yeah.
Introductory film. If you know, I thought this is great.
Yeah. Now, like we said, the movie only cost him $6,000 to make. Another really interesting fact is because they're not really paying for this with studio money or anything like that, they're paying for this out of pocket. So it took him over a year to shoot this movie because all they did was meet up on the weekends when they weren't at their normal day jobs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, the commitment to that over a year, like I can't even imagine like sticking with it, you know, like that's just he obviously just is such a smart, intelligent guy who's so confident with his ideas.
Passionate. Yeah. He's like, I'm making my movie. I have my vision.
What's interesting to me is like
he trusted his process. He trusted, even though it was his first one, he knew what he wanted and he got it.
Yeah. Yeah. We should also mention this movie is 70 minutes long.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hour and 10 minutes.
It's barely a movie. It's tight as a drum. Yeah. Like, so yeah, there's that element to it. But I think it's really interesting that he kind of just whips this thing up over the course of the year with no money. It releases, I think, at one theater in Britain. I know this didn't get like an actual release.
Right.
And it made like $42,000. So
oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like it's something. It's not like ground, earth shattering, but he got, made some money.
Yeah.
And then the next thing he does, he makes a fucking movie with Guy Pearce. Like it's pretty crazy how quickly. I really like the first little phase of his career because it's these clear, huge leaps forward for him.
Yeah.
He does this. He does Memento, which is a little bit bigger, a little bit more flashy, a little bit bigger stars, and then his movie after that is with fucking Al Pacino. His movie after that is with 3 Academy Award winners.
Yeah, he skyrocketed for sure.
And then he does Batman. Like it's.
Well, I mean, if think about it though, like you said earlier, this is the only one of his movies that he's made that's in the Criterion Collection.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I can't see them going for any of his other movies.
Exactly. Like, I mean, talk about coming out of the gate hot.
Yeah. That's incredible. Should
we talk about? Are we doing the review or buy, rent, pass or?
No. Keep going. We can talk about the actors. There's really only 2 in this movie. Aside from like, the woman, I can't remember the actress's name, but Jeremy Theobald is the guy who plays the main character, the young man.
Yeah.
He's he actually produced the movie with Nolan and Nolan's producing partner and wife, Emma Thomas. But the other actor is Alex Haw, who plays Cobb, who I think is just a delight in this movie.
Does he use now Cobb? I feel like what's the name of Leo's character?
That's Cobb as well.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And he also is like walking around. He's kind of like teaching Ellen Page in that movie,
Yeah.
showing her
Yeah.
the ropes, kind of like Cobb is in this
A little
movie.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
A lot comes back to following, man. But
yeah.
Alex, I wanted to talk really quickly about Alex Hall. Has never acted before or after this. He has one credit on IMDb, and it is this movie. So I'm thinking like, what the fuck happened to this guy? So I
Yeah.
started looking him up. The dude's just like a pretty successful artist and architect, just working out of fucking London right
Oh,
now.
well, good for him. He
Like
doesn't need
he
it.
must have just been Nolan's buddy and like showed up, gave this really charming fucking performance, and then he was like, "All right, I'm gonna fuck off and do my architecture now." Theobald has worked with Nolan a couple times. I think he shows up in Batman Begins for a minute, and it says he's credited as showing up in Tenet. So I'll have to keep my eyes open for him next time I watch that one for the podcast.
Yeah.
But I mean, pretty much everyone that worked on this film was his friend. That's it. And
I can see that.
No one really went on to be a big actor or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, all around, pretty fucking cool little performances. I think they're good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, like I said, nothing. They all did their job. There's a couple, there might have been a couple lines I thought were maybe delivered a little cheesy, but other than that, they all did good. The one thing I will say about, I'm not used to the, Nolan movies. I feel like this one had more of a Sorkin type script. It was bitey, quick, very quick dialogue.
I think one of the things that Nolan gets kind of pegged with is, Inception is sort of the apex of this complaint, which is half of his movies are just exposition to set up the second half of his movies. But this movie is, like you said, kind of cruel in parts. I'm thinking of the scene where the young man takes Cobb to his own apartment to sort of test him, and Cobb walks into this apartment without knowing that it's the guy he's burgling with, and just is eviscerating him, just talking so much shit. You can see the young man, just his face is just like, oh man, this guy's just dunking on me so hard, and like all of the dialogue there. It's one of the few movies of Nolan's where there's like cursing and people are talking about having sex, and like his movies are a little bit more robotic and more about the setup and the payoff, and this one does seem to have a little bit more kind of not life, because I don't want to say his movies are lifeless, but like it's just got a little bit more of that real edge to it.
Very real. The script was insanely real. Like there's multiple times where the characters were talking, and I'd like, that's exactly what I would say. So I don't know if he nailed it there as far as the script goes. I thought,
good script. Yeah, he wrote it.
You can tell that I just felt like you could tell he wanted to come out of the gate hot.
He did too.
Yeah, and he worked on this one.
It's good. He's got a short film that he made with Jeremy Theobald before this called Doodlebug. It's like about a man trying to kill a bug. I didn't watch it, but yeah, pretty much he works on a couple of short films, makes Doodlebug, makes this, and then he's off to the fucking races. And within 5 years of making this, he's essentially the biggest director.
Pretty much.
He takes Batman Begins and that's it.
This being only an hour and 10 minutes long, the pace was a little breakneck.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because it didn't feel like, I don't know. Nolan movies, it's especially his newer ones, they're pretty, special effects laden. And so when we always talk about this, character development is on the lighter side, to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, and that also is true here. So the characters were on the, they went. Yeah. But that's okay. There's that aspect of intriguing, that mystery to his characters. And that's fine.
Yeah, his characters tend to be more archetypal, not so much about, growth or anything like that. But like you said, I'm cool with that. Not every director has to fucking, pull on your emotional heartstrings by putting their characters through all these, whatever. This is what Nolan does, and he's fucking good at it. And
Cobb had about the same character development that Pattinson had in Tenet. Also, rich or classy British guy showing the ropes, so to speak.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to rewatch Tenet just for Pattinson's. Just like, oh man,
you just want to watch Pattinson.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that. I just love him. But yeah, absolutely. Is there anything you wanted to cover that we haven't really covered already with this one? I know it's just such a short little movie. There's not really much for us to dissect, you know.
Actually, when okay, the hammer scene,
Which one?
the murder, or he kills I believe he's wrapping the money up. He's
Yeah,
on his
yeah.
legs.
Good scene.
There's a very good scene. You don't, Nolan is, especially his earlier ones, or I wouldn't say. I noticed the camera angle. He has it down by the guy's knee, and he's looking up at, he sees him, and he slowly sees him walk in. Then the fight ensues, and he, you know what happens after that.
Right.
But I just thought that was a really good scene, and for such a small budget, it was a standout.
Yeah. I mean, there's like two fight scenes.
And as soon as he looks up and he sees him, then you hear that Nolan music kind of start.
I wanted to dive into that. The soundtrack of this movie kind of fucking slaps. It's like a pretty like the gentleman who composed this film, I think, composed all of his movies up until Hans Zimmer took over with Batman Begins. But like,
see ya.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Nolan's like, oh, Zimmer wants in. Yeah.
Oh, we need to talk.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. But I mean, I just recently, about 2 weeks ago, I watched Darren Aronofsky's first film, Pi, which is comes out the same year as this, and it's very similar. Really short, black and white, minimalist.
Another one I haven't seen. I hope we get there.
Pi's all right. Pi's okay. We'll definitely get there. We'll definitely do Aronofsky just because he's fucking insane. But it was an okay movie, and the soundtrack was so dated already. I mean, the movie both these movies came out in '98, and the soundtrack was like really like industrial techno that's like over the top, like trying to do the Matrix thing. And it was like I was just like, God, this fucking movie is fine, and the soundtrack is like really killing it. But yeah, I turned this movie on, and this movie has that kind of like really fast ticking kind of beat when the tension starts to kick in, and then there's this weird whirring noise that he uses.
Yeah.
It's a good little soundtrack. I was surprised because that's one of the things that, like, I mean, I'm a musician, so a lot of the times I'll be watching these movies. That's what I'm really connecting with. That's what I'm really looking for. And anytime I put a movie on like this, where I'm like, okay, this is the director's first movie, no budget, black and white, whatever you want to call it. That I almost always turn that part of it off. I'm like, okay, there's not going to be anything here for me to listen to. I'll just get over it, whatever. But like within a couple of minutes, it's like, no, this soundtrack's got doing some stuff.
It worked. It's good. It's so worked.
It's a good little soundtrack. I dig it.
And it's some of the sounds are similar to what he's got going on now with his newer movies. It's just he knows. Yep. I feel like, see, that's the thing. You're a musician. You kind of look for that. Not that you look for it, but you have a finer tuned ear to that.
Sure.
I am not that big into music, so I don't really tell. So when I do notice it,
it's a bigger deal to you.
I'm like, whoa, okay, that's an added element that I'm not used to. And I feel like with Nolan movies, it's I notice the sound in the music quite often.
He's gotten some incredible soundtracks out of the composers he's worked with. I mean, the most recent one, Ludwig Göransson, who we worked with on Tenet. I've been listening
him.
I've been listening to that soundtrack. I mean, he won the Oscar for Black Panther. You probably do love him, but
I probably do.
But his score for Tenet's really good. All of the Zimmer scores. I think the score for Interstellar that Hans Zimmer did is, I guess we'll get to it because I'm gonna have to get into this.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But the overlying theme is almost all of these Nolan scores have this air of sadness and like hauntedness to them. And even this little tiny one here, which shouldn't even I can't imagine that he spent more than
it's 6,000. How much did he spend on the music?
What did he do? Make this on a fucking shitty, 1998 version of GarageBand, and it sounds great.
Turns out he makes all his own music on a keyboard.
He's great at it. Whatever, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay, so I wanted to throw a couple of like little things that I found while I was researching. One of them is we'll just call it groundbreaking because I feel like not many people know this, and it's gonna. I feel if you don't know this, I think it's gonna blow your fucking lid. But first of all, one of the things that Nolan based this movie off of was him actually getting broken into while he was living in London.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and he talked to the cops. You know, his flat got looted and whatever. He's talking to the cops, and the cops are giving him all this info. The cops said something like, "Oh, one of your bags missing." Nolan's like, "Yeah, that's weird." He's like, "Yeah, usually burglars don't bring bags; they just steal one of the bags that you have." So he put that in the movie, and
Oh,
right, yeah. So like he used this like real life kind of thing, and he was talking about how uh, I watched. He has this like half-hour interview on the Criterion Blu-ray that I have, which is like listening to ASMR because it's just Christopher Nolan doing the Christopher Nolan talk where he talks really low and
with his
slow like this.
lovely British
He
accent.
talks really quietly, and then he talks about
He's
how
so proper.
he loves cinema and he loves to make movies with his friends. So it's just like, oh yeah, this is fucking great. But he's just talking about how when this happened to him, he was standing in his room with all this stuff that had been looted, and he's thinking like, man, what were these people thinking? They just like got to look into my life. So he, kind of that's sort of one of the themes of this movie is just sort of going into someone's home and looking at their most private things, this huge invasion of privacy.
At their most intimate times.
Exactly. So that I thought that was really interesting. Um, Nolan grew up in London, but he has a brother, Jonathan Nolan, who helps. I think he writes on a lot of his movies.
Yeah, he had something to do with this movie, didn't he?
Oh, I'm sure he did. Yeah, but Jonathan, I think Nolan's father is British and his mother is from America, or vice versa. And Jonathan Nolan grew up in Chicago.
He got himself a Yankee.
Yeah, he grew up. Yeah, nice. He, but his brother grew up here in America, so he doesn't have the British accent, which is interesting. But here's the real interesting thing I'm going to throw your way. Did you know he has a third brother?
Billy Nolan.
False. No, you absolutely don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Okay.
He has a third brother named Matthew Nolan. Matthew Nolan is currently in prison.
Oh.
And has been for a while.
Oh my God. Are you setting this up for a Nolan twist? Matthew broke into John or Christopher's house?
No, you can't even imagine. Matthew Nolan was sent to prison on suspicion of assassinating someone. The judge dropped the charges because there was not enough evidence, but he is still in prison, I think in Costa Rica, for carrying false documents. And he's essentially like a lifelong criminal and con man, which is fascinating because most of Nolan's movies are about con men.
Right.
In one way. So he has this dark cloud of his older brother who is like, this might be an assassin. Like,
I was going to say inspiration.
Well, sure. Yeah, that too. But isn't that wild? I feel like no one knows or talks about the fact that Christopher Nolan, one of our most successful film directors, has this insane family history with this brother of his. It's wild.
And spoiler alert, Matthew wore suits on his hits.
Well, of course. Yeah, he had to look sharp as a tack.
With a fresh haircut.
Yeah, looking real hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to dig into this movie. I'm going to watch it again soon-ish because that Criterion Collection has a linear cut. They did a re-edit of the movie and put it all in order. I'm kind of curious just to see how that plays, even though I don't really think you need it. I think the movie is pretty cool the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great time. I went in with little to no, with zero knowledge about it. Absolutely nothing but that just a face in the crowd box cover art.
Yeah.
But, sure. And a quarter of the way into it, maybe 33%, I was still, without all those pieces. But once you get those pieces, man, it's a good treat.
It's good.
But then after watching it, Haley asked me, he's like, would you recommend it to someone? And I had to think about that because I don't think it's for everyone. Like this is but if you love movies, then absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not. Yeah, I think that if you're a fan of Nolan's, even in the littlest sense, I think you'd probably get a kick out of this thing. But yeah, this is more for a fan of people who are kind of diehard in the paint because this is, as much as we're praising it, it is just kind of a scrappy little 70-minute.
It's exactly what it should be for an introductory film.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I do quite like this movie. I like all of his movies, though, is the thing.
Yeah.
So even as much as I'm talking about how much I like this movie, it's one of my least favorite movies of his.
Yeah, I mean, he's very talented.
Yep.
That's my guy.
Fun dude to watch movies of.
It will be interesting by the end of this run. Once we watch all of his, will he still be my guy?
That is a through line we'll have to keep track of.
Because this watching following has it's I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll have to get into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, shoot. I mean, yeah. Any final thoughts or anything else you wanted to add before we wrap things up here?
Hashtag Cobb's not real.
Okay, let's get it going, people. Find out the truth. By the end of this series, I want Nolan on this podcast telling me whether or not Cobb is real.
No, because he'll say he was, and I'm an idiot.
Well, there we have it. There we have it.
I'm sorry, Christopher.
Yeah, I think in the future we're going to start working on some kind of game that we can play at the end, just for fun, just to spice things up for us. But as far as it relates to this movie, there's nothing, there's no actors or anything like that. And we're going to get into Nolan anyway. So we'll skip the game this week. But to wrap things up, are there any things you're looking forward to watching this week or, within the near future? I know we talked about some things that we liked in the past week or so, but what are you looking forward to this week?
Well, I started this one. Why don't you lead it off this time?
Okay, sure thing. I have been, and I've mentioned this to you a couple times, in the middle of my Tony Scott marathon.
Yes.
I recently watched Domino, which was.
Oh yeah, how'd you like it?
Well, I didn't, but we'll get to that some other time. But yeah, next up, I've only got 2 movies left until I've seen them all, and I've got Deja Vu coming up next.
Deja Vu. Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I got that and Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, and then I'll have seen all of his movies. So it's been a fucking delight. I'll say.
And then Tony Scott's done, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably watch Unstoppable again just because it's a fucking masterpiece. But I mean, I've seen it, so. And then I've seen them all.
All right.
Good fucking director. How about you? What do you got coming up?
Well, this being our first episode, I feel like I have to double dip on the comic books, but this time I'm going to DC, baby. The Batman.
Oh,
our boy, Robert Pattinson.
That's exciting. That is a ways off, though.
It's very far off, but the trailer came out and it's great. It looks great. I'm in.
It looks pretty fucking great.
I'm in. He looks like Bruce Wayne. He looks like he's gonna be a badass.
There's so much around. I'm gonna talk about this movie for a second. There's so much around this movie that, I mean, just at this point, I'm already burnt out on the Marvel movies. I'll watch them. I know. I don't hate them, but I don't usually like them. There's just not much left for me to really mine from that particular vein. But
it's a deep vein for me.
Yeah, it's deep.
It's rich. It's a rich vein.
All right, Jesus Christ. And I mean, the DC movies have been a little spotty thus far. There's a couple that I really, really like, but there's also a couple that are abhorrent and almost offensive. So when they were announcing, like, okay, we're going to do another Batman movie, like, all right, Jesus, like, how many do we need of Batman?
Yep.
And then they went and announced that Robert Pattinson was playing Batman, and I was like, "Wow, fuck."
Yeah.
Okay.
And keep going with that list.
This is the problem, and I think I was posting
your
about
boy
this on
Paul
Facebook.
Dano.
Paul Dano's playing the Riddler. They got
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell's in this movie.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright is playing
Commissioner Gordon.
Like, this movie literally feels like it was made specifically for me right now. It was when they were on Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, like, it just
you're excited. You're excited.
Against all of my instincts, I'm incredibly excited. And then that fucking trailer came out, and it looks cool. It looks dark and gritty, which is all right. We've seen it, but Batman's a dark, gritty character, sure, whatever. But there were some things in that trailer that I was really vibing with. I really liked that. There's the scene of him with his mask off, and he's got eyeliner on around his eyes. Like, they're just embracing that.
Yeah.
And the quick glimpse of the Riddler where he's got like duct tape all over his face or some shit. Sure.
Cool.
Looks like fucking Zodiac. Let's do it. Like, do this weird low budget true crime looking fucking movie for me.
Detective Comics.
Exactly. Really embracing that. So who knows what that movie's going to be. I really
the cast is too good for me to ignore it. That's my pick this week. I am hype. It is a long ways off, but I wanted to be. Do I get points for being the first one to acknowledge it on the show?
Oh yes, I will give you 1 point. I don't know what we're going to do with those points in the long run, but you can jot that down. You have 1 point.
Let the record show that it is 1-0.
I don't know what is this the game? Is this the game we're going to just this abstract, strange point-based game that we don't know what it is?
Oh, what if that is something like if I say, oh, I'm excited about that movie, say the Batman turns out to be good. I was the first one to mention it, get hyped for it. I get a point.
Okay. Well, all right, sure. All right. You can keep track of that.
Okay.
I'm at -1 points because Domino sucked ass, but that's all right.
Starting in the hole.
Ah, boy, I'll get there eventually.
Mickey Rourke didn't win you over?
Mickey Rourke has never once won me over. So.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah, that's all right, though. Well, I mean, I think that'll do it for us this week. Next week, we'll be diving into Memento, and it's just onwards and upwards from there. So.
Well, polish off following. Do you have a rating?
Sure. Yeah, we do have this little rating system we're doing. Like I said, I use the Letterboxd rating system, which is just out of 5 stars.
Yeah. Including halves.
Yeah. I previously had this movie rated as a 3 out of 5. Watched it this time, bumped it up a half star, gave it a 3.5. 3.5.
Oh, very good.
This movie. I think this is a good movie. So, how about you?
Same here.
3.5.
3.5.
Good. So, do I get a point? Can I have a point?
No.
All right, fine.
The equivalent of my 3.5 would be an A- because I go up to.
Wow. Here's the thing about giving this movie an A- so early in the game.
Right.
That means for you, a person who really likes Christopher Nolan, none of his other movies are going to dip below an A- ideally.
Well, here's the thing. Because I wasn't the biggest fan of Insomnia, so I'm wondering if that's going to be the lowest one.
Oh, you hurt me. You wounded me, sir. Oh, all right.
And I'm pretty sure. I think when I watched Tenet, I gave that a B+. So.
Sure. Yeah. No. We didn't love Tenet. So
yeah.
All right.
Plus,
all right.
I do have the S on my scale as well. My letter.
Oh, the superior star.
Well, the super.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got the S- and the S+.
Oh, S+. Is that like Super Saiyan, God Saiyan, that fusion?
I don't know if we're even going to watch a movie that'll even warrant an S+. We'll see.
Well, I'm sure we'll get around to watching Tony Scott's Unstoppable at some point. So.
Oh, that's or Puff the Magic Dragon.
Sure. All right. Well, yeah, 3.5 stars for both of us for following.
Would you buy it, rent it, or pass it?
This is our first episode. We and I really want to describe this great rating system that you had.
The Simplest Scale.
It was so good. It works.
Is that the name of it? The Simplest Scale.
Sure. Yeah.
Official.
TMTM hashtag simple scale. So when you and I used to work together, we would talk about movies all the time. That was we fell in love just talking about movies at Applebee's.
Yeah, you won me over.
Yeah, exactly.
Harry Met Sally.
It was with Harry Met Sally. Yes,
it was in a restaurant. But...
yeah, it's great. I did a fake orgasm. It was wonderful.
Yeah. I'll have what she's having.
But you had this really great, quick, just concise little way of rating movies, which was if you loved a movie, it was a buy.
If I want to watch it, if I want to be able to watch this movie at any time, I'm buying it. I want to own it.
Yes. So any movie you love, it's a buy. I'm going to buy it.
Oh, absolutely.
That was how you just describe it. It's a buy. If it was fine, good movie, but not your favorite movie, 2.5, 3 stars, fine movie. There's a rent. Go to Redbox.
Yeah, I don't need to own it. I'm okay with not being able to see it whenever I want.
But sure, if you're having a good night in, go watch Green Zone. I don't know.
Ooh.
no, it's okay. So maybe Green Zone's
abort.
Maybe Green Zone's our next one. If you really didn't like a movie, it was a pass.
Okay. Yes. I
Right?
wouldn't even bother. I wouldn't even bother with it.
With the rent. Yeah, I'm just gonna pass it up.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, that was your really good, concise way of,
Very simple. 3 categories.
buy, rent, pass. And this movie for me is a buy because I already own it, which will be probably every single episode will be a buy. Oh wait,
Okay.
not next week's episode. Little teaser. Ooh.
Oh, it is a little teaser.
All right. Well, with that, I think we should just end things here. Thanks for listening to Film School Dropouts. I'm James.
And I'm Brent.
All right. We'll see you next week.